On this episode of Takacs vs Wild, I'm going to be faced with the impossible, surviving in the desert in the Australian outback.
47.5 people die every year.
Eating nothing but what I can find.
Hopefully not going to kill me, but it's better than nothing. It can also heal things like cancer, because all the water runs downhill. They were lost down here for 3 weeks. All the water's going to rush down here. That's going to be one of the toughest climbs I've ever had to do. So it was a bit rough on the dismount, but as you can see, I'm out here in the desert. There's very little life around. Yeah, this is probably going to be one of my toughest challenges yet, especially finding water in this harsh environment. Alright, let's get moving. Alright, so one of the most important things about survival is finding water. You can last for up to 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. So it's really hard to gather your bearings right here because of the weather. There's no shadows. I can't tell where the sun is because it's overcast. But what we're going to do is head downhill until we find a stream, because all the water runs downhill. And then once we find a stream, then we'll follow it downstream until we find civilization, hopefully.
If you ever get lost in the wild, it's normally a good idea to stay put and wait for someone to find you. But in some cases, you're going to have to find your own way out. In this case, that means covering a lot of the ground as fast as possible.
We found a stream, and I can tell it's heading this way, so I'm guessing, or hoping, that civilization will be that way. I can't drink from it here because of all the reeds around here. There could be something dead further downstream, I can't tell. It's not flowing fast enough, and so I could be drinking whatever and I could actually die. One thing you've got to be really careful with when you're following down a stream is flash floods. If there's a heavy downpour down that way, then all the water is going to rush down here. As you can see, it's ripped up all these reeds, and if I was here when it happened, I would be washed away and I would die straight away. Very dangerous. Right, so the water's a lot clearer here. I'll probably be able to drink this. It's even warm enough to swim in. It's actually quite nice. But yeah, I can just follow this downstream. It's really slippery on the bottom. I can just follow this downstream, and all I gotta do is watch out for crocodiles. It shouldn't be too bad right here, but never be too careful. So ants are a very good source of protein. When you're out in the wild, you're going to do whatever you can to try and stay alive. I'm going to need a lot of these. There's about 2.5 calories in each one. But they keep running away. They taste pretty bad. But this is what will keep you alive out in the wild. You just gotta not worry about it, because obviously it's hopefully not gonna kill me, but it's better than nothing. So as you can see here, the soil is quite nutrient. If we're lucky, we might be able to find some grubs or something to eat, but it's not looking hopeful really. There's a story of actually, just only last year, there was a family of Asians come over, like tourists, and they were lost out here for 3 weeks, and they survived only by eating these grubs out of the soil. But they must have been more lucky than me. Yeah, they actually made it out alive, but only just. It was pretty close. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep moving on. There's nothing here. Right, so out in the wild, it's really important to find your bearings so you know which way you're going. I can't use this method right now, one, because I don't have a watch, and 2 is not sunny enough. It's really overcast. But what you do, on your watch, you point the 12 hand to where the sun is, and then halfway between that and the hour hand is north. So if it was 9 o'clock, north would be at like 10:30, so halfway between 10 and 11. And so that way I'll know which way north is, and from there I can figure out where I need to go. As you can see, the terrain here is very unforgiving. This sort of shrub just goes on for miles, and over 47.5 people die every year in Australia due to this sort of conditions. It's not actually the shrub that kills you, it's what lives in it. It's not so bad just here, but in some areas there can be up to 100 snakes per square metre. I just gotta hope I'm lucky, I guess.
Before travelling anywhere, you should research the area. You might find plants that could save your life in certain death situations.
This plant here is actually called the devil's tail because it's really prickly and it kind of looks a bit like a tail. But despite its name and all these thorns on it, it has healing properties. So what you do, you pick off all these thorns and crush it up, and then just the smell of it actually clears out your nose and can also heal things like cancer and gastro. Right, what I've found up here is perfect shelter, and I didn't even have to make it. Sometimes in nature you're lucky enough to find a shelter that's already made, like this one. So I can spend the night here. It'll stop the wind from coming in that way. It'll also stop some of the rain from coming overhead, and most of all, it'll keep me warm. Good. Right, so I've been following this river for weeks now. I've travelled probably over 100 kilometres, but I've finally made it back to civilization. I'm looking forward to a nice warm shower. And it's really cold since I lost my jacket back there. But hopefully there's not much further to go. That's going to be one of the toughest climbs I've ever had to do. But I made it. 2 months out in the wild, and I survived.
There's one thing my time in the wild's taught me, it's to never give up, and also to appreciate the little things in life, like phone service.
Yes!